Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2007 Chevy Silverado. It's a 2500, but we are going to be changing the front brakes, the front rotors. The right front is done already. The left front is what we're going to start on right now. All right, let me bring you up there. I'm going to show you what kind of tools you're going to need. And as you can guess, we are going to change the rotors as well, because the brake pads themselves are fairly thick, but the rotors pulsate like crazy. You drive this thing and it feels like your knee is going to hit you in the chin. It pulsates so badly. So, all right, let's get up there. I'll show you the tools you're going to need, and we're going to get started. So, come on up front. Okay, so let me explain to you what we're going to do first, and then we're going to talk about the tools we're going to need. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to loosen up this bolt here and this bolt here, and we're going to take those two out. Those hold the caliper in place. We're going to come in here with a small pry bar or a screwdriver. We're going to push those pistons back in a little bit, and I don't think they're going to push in all the way, so we will take this off and use another tool to push the pistons back in all the way. These are 18 millimeter, just so you know. We are going to remove that bolt right there, and we are going to also remove this bolt right here, and that allows me to take this mounting bracket off of the truck. So we're going to take this mounting bracket off. We're going to bring it over on the side here. We're going to take off this hardware kit right here. We're going to clean up below the hardware kit. We'll put the new one on, and then we're going to reassemble it. All right, sounds easy, but these bolts and the bolts down over here were rusted like mad, so I couldn't even get them off with an air gun. But we're going to see how it goes. Hopefully the air gun works. If not, we're going to use a pipe and a breaker bar. But this is an example of what kind of tools you're going to need. Well, first of all, let me just say we're going to change the rotor, so that's our new rotor. That's our new brake pads. And this is the slide pins, or I should say the hardware kit. We're going to use a small screwdriver, a file such as this, or sandpaper, or whatever you have to clean off rust. We're going to use a bracket such as this. Okay, and then we're going to use a tool like this to push the pistons back into the bore. We're going to use a small pry bar such as this to push the piston back in as far as we can. And if that doesn't work, we're going to use something a little bit bigger. Of course, we're going to use our air gun to see if we can save a step and shoot it off with air instead. Normally, you'll notice I use a 3/8 drive ratchet to do brakes. On this particular case, I'm going to use a 1/2-inch drive because everything is so tight. As you can see, that's our breaker bar, and there's our pipe, just in case. All right, so let's get set up and let's get started, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll see how this one is. So, all right, cover your ears. Right, well, that one wasn't so bad. They came out a lot easier than the other side. Pretty dry, but we'll lubricate these before we put it back together. Now, normally, you know, I would have pushed these pistons back in, but the other side was very difficult to push it in, so I'm just going to loosen this now so I can have enough to get the caliper off. We're going to push the pistons back in as far as we can. And now we're just going to take this caliper off, and we're going to relocate it off to the side using this hanger here. Okay, you know what? We're just going to sit this up on top, just like that for now. It stays pretty well. But as you can see how thick the brake pads are? But these rotors are so far out around, they're pulsating like mad, and that's what's causing the pedal to be moving up and down really tight. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's give it a try, and we're going to see if we can shoot off this bolt and this bolt. If not, we're going to use our breaker bar. We'll see how it goes. Sorry about putting my back to you. This is actually pretty rusty, so we're going to tap our socket on there a little bit. Better than the other side, it actually came out. Now, you'll notice that I didn't take that bolt all the way out because we need to break this one loose first, because if this one doesn't break loose, this whole bracket is going to rotate down. So we're going to try to shoot that one out first. Oh man, it's got rusted as well. This one came off pretty good actually. The other side was a real pain in the rear end, but this side came off pretty decent. So, all right, let's take our mounting bracket off. As you can see, they actually slide pretty good. We're going to change this hardware kit here anyway, just to make sure that we don't have any issues. So, all right, we'll put this down for a minute. And we're going to take our rotor off. That's a little bit tight, so we're just going to tap it a couple times and see if we can get it to pop off. Okay, now if the hammer doesn't work to get this off, there's tiny holes right inside here that you can screw in here a bolt into it to pop it off. But if that don't work, I take a bolt like this, take this bolt, put it through here like this, put this nut on the back like this, you see that bolt is on there? If you had this rotor on here and you couldn't get that thing to come off at all, and you're in here pounding the heck out of it with a hammer to try to get it to move, what you do is just screw a bolt in here just like this. You hold this here with the wrench like this, and then you come in the back. And you see it pushes the rotor right off. No more beating the heck out of it with a hammer to try to get it to move. No more beating the heck out of the rotor to try to get it to move. Alright, let's just move this out of the way. Now we just take this off. And you can see how rusty that thing is inside. See? Okay, let me just tell you this real quick. These bolts on a Chevy is really not too bad. They usually come out pretty decent. But you get some of these Ford, these F-250s and 350s, those rear rotors on there, you'll break your coconuts trying to get those things out of there. You try this bolt on there, and I'm telling you, once you try this, you'll never go back to beating it with a hammer or anything, or even using any penetrating oil. When you put these bolts on there and you tighten it up, that thing pops off like crazy. A lot of times you'll have to screw a nut onto the stud, because when this thing pops loose, that rotor will come flying off. So this thing here, you try it, you'll see. You're going to tell me this is the best thing I ever showed you. So, all right, let's continue in here. Now let me just show you this real quick. Right down in here, you see this is a little bit rusty inside here. I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to clean this off. I have a tool that I use to clean this off with. If you don't have the tool, you can clean it with just some sandpaper, but I'm going to clean this up first here now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to put that rotor on there. Now I will tell you this rotor, I've already cleaned it off with brake cleaner, so it's nice and clean on the outside as well as on the inside. So, all right, let's clean this up, and once it's clean, we'll come back and put this job back together then. Okay, now, I hope you can see okay, but we're going to take these clips right here and we're going to pop these off. Just get in here with a screwdriver, just like that, and pop it up. Now, I'm going to take this off. Now, you'll see there's two different size clips on here. You see this is the thinner, and this is thicker, so you have to make sure you put it back together the same way. We know that the thinner one here is to the outside, and the thicker one here is to the inside. And you can tell which is the inside and outside just by the way the bolts are right here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here with a file, just like this, and you clean up all of this rust that's on here. You see that rust that's on there? You need to get that rust off of there so we have a nice clean surface. If you don't have a file, you can use emery cloth or sandpaper, whatever you have, but you would just file it off just like this. Okay, now once you have it cleaned up, you just take and put a little bit of the synthetic brake grease on top where the mounting bracket is going to go. Do the same thing on the other side. Now remember, these don't have to be spotless, but you want to try to get as much of the rust off as you possibly can so you don't have any problems. Alright, now you got to remember what we talked about. The thinner part goes to the outside, the thicker part goes to the inside. So we know that this one goes right here, like this, over the top like that, and you push it all the way down, just like that. Okay, it's nice and flush right here, as you can see. Now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to do the same thing. The thinner part here to the outside, like that. Push it over it. Make sure it's down all the way, just like this, right? And now what I do is every place that the brake pad is going to touch, you're going to put a little bit of silicone on there as well. I know there's a little controversy about using this brake grease or not, but I always use it. Just like this. Now, before we go any further with these brake pads here, I just want to point this out to you. These are the pads that came off the vehicle. You always want to, now you can see this one here is the outer brake pad. And you see the indicators in this location here? Always put the brake pad back on that has the indicator in the same exact location. See here? And there it is right there. They do have a mirror image which looks just like that. See? Okay, so we're going to take this one here, we know is the outside brake pad, and then we know that this one is the inside brake pad. Alright, so these will go on fairly easy. You'll see they slide nice and freely in here. See, just the way they're supposed to, like this. Now you can put these brake pads on here, or you could put the brake pads on when you have them back in the vehicle. These slide very easily, so we're going to put these on once the caliper mounting bracket is mounted back on the vehicle itself. Alright, now let me show you what to do with that caliper to recess that piston. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put this here so you can see it. You see these pistons here? They're not pushed in as far as they're supposed to be, so we need to push those back in. So what you would do is you would take a brake pad and put it in here like this. We're going to take another brake pad. I put a new one on the outside here. And then we're going to take one of the older ones as well and put it on the inside. The reason I do that is because I need to push that piston back in as far as I can. So this tool here, when you have that much of an opening in here, it's a little tough to push it back in all the way. But there's lots of different tools out there you can use to recess the pistons back into the bore. This one is just one of them. This one is made by Snap-on, and I've had this one just about forever. And now we just slowly turn it, and you'll see the pistons pushing back in. We're going to take our tool back off. We're going to get rid of these. And the new one. And we're just going to sit this back up here out of the way, just like that. For now, we're just going to leave it sit right there. We're going to take our mounting bracket and we're going to put it back on the vehicle just like this. And then we're going to catch the two bolts that we previously took out. I did anti-seize these or never seize them, so that we will not have a problem the next time it's here. So we're going to catch these by hand right now. Make sure you catch both of the bolts by hand before you tighten up either one of them. Now, I am going to shoot this on with the air gun, but I have to look it up and get the torque specs. So for now, we're just going to tighten it up. Okay, let me get the torque specs in it. I'm going to tighten them up, and we'll come right back. Okay, the mounting, the caliper mounting bracket, it's 221 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to tighten those up real quick. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to take our brake pads. Now remember what I told you. The brake pad itself, this one is the outer pad, so we need to make sure we have the correct outer pad. As you can see, this indicator is in a different location. So this is not the outer. This one here is the outer brake pad. So we're going to put the brake pad here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our inner brake pad back in. So now our pads are back into the location where it belongs. You saw I put a nut on here to hold the rotor from moving around. Otherwise, if the rotor moves around, it'll keep on knocking those pads off. All right, next thing we're going to do, we're going to take some brake cleaner and we're going to clean these bolts off right here. So don't go nowhere. I'm going to do it right here. Okay. Now we're going to take some brake grease as well. Just coat everything here with some the synthetic brake grease like this, so it slides nice and freely. You don't have to go crazy with it. You just want to have a little bit on there. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is every place that this caliper is going to touch. Every place that this caliper is going to touch the brake pad, you want to put a little bit of silicone on here, just like this. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. And then we're going to do in the back right here, because this, as you know, touches into the brake pad, just like that. And now we're going to take this caliper, excuse my back to you, we're going to slide it over the top just like this. We're going to push these little piston boots back in like that so we don't break them off by accident, just like that. And then we're going to catch these bolts. You're going to screw them in by hand. I am going to snug these up. Okay, now these bolts, these are actually tightened in at 80 foot-pounds, so we're going to torque those to 80 foot-pounds. All right, so let's talk about what we did here. Okay, we cleaned up the area below here where the brake rotor comes in contact with the hub. We put the rotor back on. We had this nut hold the rotor in place so we could work a little bit without it moving around. We reattached our mounting bracket. We cleaned up where the brake hardware goes, and we lubricated every place that the brake pad is going to touch, top and bottom as well. We tightened up that bolt right down inside here. Remember, that was 221 foot-pounds. This one down here as well, we tightened that up too. We put our new brake pads in here, and we lubricated every place that the brake pad is going to touch, even on the mounting caliper itself, on the caliper. Same thing in the back over here, those two pistons, we lubricated where the brake pistons touch into the caliper. And then last, we tightened up our bolts on the brake caliper to the mounting bracket, and we know that was 80 foot-pounds, so we tightened those up. That's it, fronts are done. Okay, so the fronts are now done. You want to get the wheels back on, obviously. You get in the vehicle and you pump the brake pedal 4 or 5 times until you'll feel the brake pedal come higher. What you're doing is you're pushing that piston back out. That piston has to be pushed out until it touches into the back of the brake pad. Once it touches into the back of the brake pad, then you'll notice your brake pedal is going to be nice and firm right up on top. And that's it. Your front brakes will be done. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.